Hello and welcome to CoderzColumn. My name is Solanki, and in today's video I will explain how to add secondary x or y axis to our Matplotlib charts. Now we generally add secondary axis to our chart when we want to represent quantities that are on different scale, but we still want them in the same chart. To explain with simple example, let's say that we want to compare sales and returns of various products represented as bar charts. Now both quantities, sales and returns are on different scales. In this scenario, we can use our primary y-axis to represent sales and secondary y-axis to represent returns. Now, if you follow along with me, then we will end up creating charts that look like this. So without further ado, let's jump to my screen and get started with coding. Right, so here we are on my screen. As you can see on my screen, I already have a Jupyter Notebook open and we'll be creating charts in Jupyter Notebook. So without further delay, let's get started with the coding part. So first of all, I have imported library Matplotlib and printed the current version which is installed on my system. So current version on my system is 3.5.3. So this is the latest and stable version, and we'll be using this version for creating charts. Now, in order to create a chart, we need some data. So I have decided to load this wine dataset, which is available from Python machine learning library scikit-learn. So let me execute this cell and load the dataset. Now this dataset has information about various ingredients used in creation of 3 different types of wine. So as you can see, I have loaded the dataset in memory as a pandas data frame and displayed the first few rows of the dataset. So these are various ingredients used in creation of wines. And the last column, wine type, is categorical column where we have 3 different types of wines, which is class 0, class 1 and class 2. So let's go ahead and create one more data frame from our wine data frame. So let me execute this cell and show you the content of this data frame. So over here I have created a new data frame named average wine df. Now this data frame has average values of various ingredients per wine type. So over you can see we have only 3 rows, which is class 0, class 1 and class 2. And over here values are average value of that selected ingredient per wine type. And we have retrieved this data frame by calling group by method on our original wine df data frame. So we have grouped entries based on wine type and then called mean function to get average values of ingredients. So we will be using this data frame to create our charts. So now let's go ahead and create our first chart. So as a part of our first example, we will explain how to add secondary y-axis to our charts. Now, in order to add secondary y-axis, we first need to create a chart where we might feel the need to use secondary y-axis. So over here, I have included the code which creates a group bar chart. Now this group bar chart shows the average value of these 3 selected ingredients for wine type. So let me execute this cell and show you how this chart looks. Alright, so as you can see, we have 3 quantities represented over here, which is flavonoids, magnesium and proline. Now as you can see, we have bars of flavonoids, but they are just almost invisible. They are so small. Same happened for magnesium, and the reason behind this is that all these 3 quantities are on very different scale. So let's go to our data frame. So as you can see, flavonoid is between 0 to 3 and magnesium is between 94 to 106, which are on quite higher scale. And on the other hand, proline is even on very high scale. It's like it's going in the range of like 500 to 1000. So it's even on higher range. So now in order to properly see the bars of flavonoids, magnesium and proline, what we can do is that we can introduce the secondary y-axis on the right side to represent magnesium, and then we can add another y-axis to represent proline. So let's go ahead and do that. First of all, we will add secondary y-axis for magnesium. So let's go ahead and do that. So I have imported matplotlib.pyplot API. Now first of all, I will create figure and axis object, which I can do using plt.subplots method. Over here I can give figure size. So let me use 15 by 7. Let's say 10 by 6 will be good one. Now this method plt.subplots return axis object and figure both. So on this first axis object, we will plot our flavonoids values. So let's go ahead and do that. So I will copy this code of plotting flavonoids over here, and I will call axis main dot this bar. So let me execute this one and show you how it looks. Right, so there you go. Here we have our flavonoids plotted, and now we can see flavonoids as of now because it's the only single quantity which is getting plotted on chart. So let me add labels for x and y axis. So x label I will set to wine type. Y label will be average flavonoids. And let's not set tick as of now. So I will introduce tick after I add secondary axis for magnesium. So right, so now we have added, let's add title as well. Average ingredients for wine time. Okay. So now we have our first bar chart created where we have plotted average flavonoids. Now I will add magnesium on the chart. So in order to add magnesium, I will create a secondary y-axis. So how can I do that? So I have created, there is a method name which is available from our axis object, axis main, and the method name is twinx. Now what this method does is that it creates new axis object, which is exactly same of our existing axis object, but the new axis object has y-axis plotted on the right side. So here we are introducing secondary y-axis, but we are using the method name twinx. So remember this thing, and the reason behind naming this method twinx is that the x-axis is same in this axis, but the y-axis is plotted on the right side. So now we have created a secondary axis on the another axis object which has secondary y-axis. So on this object we can plot our magnesium. So let me go ahead and do that. I will copy this code to plot magnesium over here. Yeah, and on for that y label will be average magnesium, and we will be storing result of this as bar 1. This will be bar 2, and let's introduce legend as well. So location we'll use best, and now we need to give handles parameter, which will be list of bars that we created, bar 1 and bar 2. So let me execute this one and show you the result. All right, so as you can see, now we have flavonoid and magnesium plotted on the same chart, but we can see them properly, because if you look in our previous chart, we can't see the difference between them because they are on totally different scale. And over here on the left, on the right side, we have our secondary y-axis. So before we move on, let me set the limit of both the axes. So for the first axis, our main y-axis, I will set limit from 0 to 5. Let's set it to 0 to 5. And for second axis, I will set limit from 0 to, let's set 120. Right, so let me execute this cell. And before I execute, let me add ticks as well. What I will do, x dot set x ticks. So I will add ticks for y x axis, which is our wine type. So I need to add ticks at over here. So this is 0, this is 1, it will be 0 0.5. It will be between 4 and 5, so it will be 4.5. And for the third one, it's between 8 and 9, so it will be 8.5. All right, so here we have our chart where we are displaying two quantities which are on different scales: average flavonoids and magnesium. And magnesium is represented on the right side with secondary y-axis. So now we have represented two quantities. Let's add the third one as well to our chart. So I will copy our code over here, and now I will create another axis object from our main axis object by again calling twinx function. Okay, twinx method. So now on this third axis, I will be plotting ProLine, our last bars. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. X3 of bar, let's call it bar 3. Let's set y label as average ProLine. Let's set y limit between 0 to 1200. I have set it to 0 to 1200 because I know the range, the values of ProLines are in the range 0 to 1200. And in order to add it to legend, I will need to call bar 3 over here in handles. So let me execute this cell and show you how this one looks. All right, so here we have all the three charts plotted. Sorry, not three charts, all the three different types of bars plotted on our chart. Now, as you can see, I introduced the new y-axis on the right side, the third one. And now this one is overriding our original average magnesium y-axis. So I need to move this particular y-axis little bit on the right side. So how can I do that? So in order to do that, I need to use spines attribute of our axis object, third axis, which has spines attribute. Now this attribute has information about all the 4 lines which are around our bar. So like this one is the top line, this one is the right line, this one is the bottom line, and this one over here is the left line. So I want to modify the location of the right line, and there is a method named setPosition which I can call to modify the position of my right line, which is my secondary y-axis for representing ProLine. Now this setPosition method accepts tuple. So first value to this tuple is string. So this string accepts 3 different value: axis, data, and there is a third one named outward. Now I will be using axis for our purpose because now we can represent the position based on distance between axes. So over here, by default, the distance between these two spine, the one which is on the left and one which is on the right, is 1. And I want to move my average ProLine secondary y-axis little bit on the right side. So I need to use amount which is little bit more than 1. So I will set it to 1.1. So let me execute this one and show you the result. All right, so as you can see, now the average ProLine has moved a bit on the right side. I can set different values, like I can set 1.2, but it will move little bit more far. So this value, you can try different values and find out. If you set it to values less than 1, let's say if I set it to 0.5, then it will go into the center. So we need to set value which is greater than 1. Okay, so let me execute this, and yeah, so here we have our chart ready. So we have represented three different ingredients, which is flavonoids, magnesium, and proline. Flavonoid is represented using our primary y-axis, and average magnesium and average proline are represented using our secondary y-axis. And let me modify the location of ticks as well. For x-axis, so I will set it to 1, 5, and 9. So currently they are over here. I want to move it over here below the blue bars. So let me do that. All right, so there you go. Here we have our chart ready final. Now before we move on, let's improve the look of this group bar chart. So we can improve the look of our group bar chart using context method, which is available from style submodule from our pyplot. And as the method name is context, we need to use it in context statement with. So let me move our code, indent it, and in this context method we can specify various themes which are available from Matplotlib. So Matplotlib has the theme ready-made available for few libraries like Cbon, ggplot2. Then there is a theme for famous blog named 538, which we will use for our purpose. Now if you want to learn more about these themes, then I have a separate tutorial, and I will include the link to it in the top right corner. So you can check that tutorial if you want to learn more about setting themes. So let me execute this cell and show you the result. All right, so now we have a chart which looks good, but there is one thing, which is that our grids are not properly aligned. So there is one solution to this. So the solution is I can disable the grids of this secondary y-axis. So let me go ahead and do that. So I can set ax2.grid. I can call grid function on them, and there is a parameter name visible, which I can set to false. Same I will do for third axis as well. As you can see, now it seems that our grids has aligned, but still there is a problem, like we can't properly compare the values of this secondary y-axis. So the line should ideally, grid should start from here, but there is no line, so we can't properly see, like we can't properly get an idea about what is the value of that ingredient. So we need to properly align grids for all three axes, or all three y-axis, for primary and to secondary. So how can we do that? So the simplest solution to do that is to use same number of ticks for both all three axes. So what I will do over here is that I have decided to use 10 ticks for all the three axes. So over here I will have 10 ticks. So I will start from 0 and I will go 3 till 5. And every time I will increment the values by 0.5. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, and so on till 5. Same logic I will follow over here for average magnesium. I will start from 0, then the first value will be 12, then 24, 36, and so on till 120. Same I will follow for average proline, 0, 120, 240, 360 till 1200. So when I will set ticks like that, I will have same number of ticks for all the three axes. And when I have same number of ticks for all the three axes, grids for all of them will be aligned. So let me go ahead and do that. So x main set white ticks. Now I will need to import numpy in order to do that, as I will be using a range function which is available from numpy. So I will start from 0 I will go till 5. Now I want values till 5, so that's why I have set the value to 5.5. It's any value, I can set 5.1 as well. So it will go till 5. So let me set this one. And let me just show you the result. So as you can see, I have 0, 0 0.5, 1, 1.5 until 5. So let's go ahead and do that for other two axes. Now for this magnesium, I want to go till 120. So I will set it to 120 and increment by 12. Let's copy the same and use for the third axis as well. For third one, I want to go till 1200 by increment of 120 each time. 1200. So let me execute this cell and show you the result. All right, now as you can see, now grids and ticks of all the values are aligned. So now this makes it makes the task of a person who is trying to understand this chart easy, because now it is in proper format. We can easily compare various quantities if we want to. So yeah, that's it. Let's move on to our second example. Now in our first example, we introduce secondary y-axis, but there can be situation where you want to introduce secondary x-axis. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, I have created a chart where we might want to introduce secondary x-axis. So again, I have created a chart which shows the average value of these three ingredients which we had used in our previous example, which is flavonoid, magnesium, and proline. And I have again created group bar chart, but now my group bar chart is horizontal group bar chart. So the bars are aligned horizontally instead of vertically. So that is the only change. Now in this case, we have average ingredient over here on x-axis. So we will need to introduce our secondary x-axis over here on the top side, and the third secondary x-axis also on the top. So let's reuse our code which we were used for our previous example. Now I will modify this code and create a chart which introduce secondary x-axis. So let me copy this one. So first of all, again we will create figure and main object. Again, now instead of bar we need to use bar h method. Instead of x we need to use y parameter, because on y-axis we'll be plotting wine type. Instead of height we need to specify width of these bars, and the rest of the thing can remain same. Now wine type will be on y-axis, average flavonoids will be on x-axis, x limit will be between 0 to 5, y ticks will be between 1, 5 and 9. Oh yeah, on y-axis we will have wine type displayed, and on x-axis we'll be specifying ranges for values of flavonoid. So that is the change. Now over here we need to use twin y method. In order to introduce new secondary x-axis, we need to use twin y. So what this will do, it will create a new axis object which has same y-axis as our existing one, but has x-axis which is displayed on the top over here. So remember this, when you want to create a secondary x-axis you need to use twin y, and when you want to create a secondary y-axis you need to use twin x. So okay, now over here again we will be using bar h method. Again we will set it to y parameter, width, let's keep other things same. Over here x label will be average magnesium, x limit, then x ticks. Over here we will need to use twin y, bar h function, y over here, width of the bar for the third axis, and instead of, in this case, instead of right we want to set the position of top spine, this one. So I will use top over here. X label will be average scroll line, X limit will be 0 to 1200, and X to X will be from 0 to 1200. Let's keep the rest of the things same. So I think this should work. So let me execute this cell. All right, so here we have our chart ready, where we have two secondary x-axis. So this chart is just the same as our previous chart, showing average values of ingredient, but we just change the alignment of our bars from vertical to horizontal to explain how we can add secondary x-axis to our charts. Now the third example, so I have included one more example to show like usage of secondary y-axis. So I won't code this particular chart, I have included coding for it, but this is included for explanation purpose, so I will execute the cell one by one. So I have used this Apple OHLC dataset for this chart. Now this dataset has prices of Apple stock from 2019 to 2020, and there are 4 prices: open, high, low, and close. So we'll be using this data frame to create a chart. Now, apart from close price, I have introduced 2 more close prices to our dataset by adding some logic, like there is a high price and I have subtracted 120 from it, and I have added 5000 to low price. So the reason behind doing this is that I wanted a close prices which are on different scale. So you can see original close prices is 197, 200, and so on. Now close 2 is in 27, 30, and so it's on low range, and the close 3 is above 5000, which is on very high range. So now if I plot all these 3 close prices on our chart, so if I plot all the close prices as a line chart, so it will look flat. As you can see, I have plotted all the 3 close prices over here, close, close 2, and close 3. All 3 looks, it looks flat. I can't see any pattern, I can't see any trend in my chart. So now this is the case where I can use the secondary axis for prices close 2 and close 3. So over here I have included example where I have included secondary y-axis for prices of close 2 and close 3. So let me execute this. Now as you can see, I can properly see the trend in our chart. All the 3 prices close, close 2, and close 3 are plotted. Price close 2 and close 3 are plotted using secondary y-axis represented on right side. So yeah, that's it for our tutorial. So here I have highlighted a summary of our tutorial. So we introduced 2 important methods, twin x and twin y, which are used to introduce secondary y-axis and secondary x-axis to our chart. So yeah, that's it for the day. If you liked our video, and if you feel that if you learned something new today, then give it a thumbs up. And yeah, see you next time.